Okay, so it's official. Scopely Inc. has just bought Niantic, and Pokemon Go is now going to be a Saudi Arabia game. Alright, so what's happening, everyone? Count Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go discussion video. And yeah, this is some pretty big news. I just heard this news. It's no longer speculation, it's no longer hearsay. It is official, from the words of Niantic themselves, as well as Scopely Inc. themselves. Niantic Games is now a property of Scopely Inc. This is a game studio, or I should say game publisher, that is responsible for games like Marvel Strike Force. In the past, they purchased that game, Monopoly Go, a lot of different other titles. And now they're going to be in charge of Pokemon Go, which is a game, of course, that I cover on my YouTube channel. It's a game that I've been playing for the last several years. And yeah, I just have a lot of thoughts to process because, you know, it's very cathartic for me that I've been so I don't know. I've had such a up and down relationship with Niantic. I'm not part of their creator program. I'm pretty sure I'm blacklisted in many ways. I've reached out to them about, whether or not I could be a part of that program, whether or not they would give me information like they do other content creators, but no, they've been giving me the cold shoulder in that regard. But I also have a lot of people at Niantic that I talk to, a lot of people that I've known for a long time, and in that regard, I do have good relationships with Niantic, and in many ways, I try to keep myself very real with Niantic. I'm not gonna cut corners. I'm not gonna give them praise undeservingly for things that they don't deserve praise for. But at the same time, I'm not going to criticize them for things that I just personally feel like are really good things for Pokemon Go. So, my phone is going off. I've been getting a lot of text messages and I've been getting a lot of notifications regarding this news. It's a pretty big deal for us Pokemon Go content creators. But yeah, I just feel like this is very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I think a lot of players are going to be very unhappy about this, rightfully so. Scopely Inc. is a Saudi Arabia company, and a lot of people have different gripes with that country. Obviously, they have a history of just really terrible things, like civil rights violations, especially towards women. But it is essentially a first world country at this point, so they're going to make business moves like this, whether we like it or not. China is another country where a lot of people have disagreements with, but they are also making huge waves around the world. That's just naturally a part of things. Like when money moves, then it doesn't matter whether or not you agree with the country. Those countries are going to, jump on opportunities just like this. So, that's all besides the point. I'm not going to get into world politics. I know everyone has their own things that they believe, but when it comes to Saudi Arabia owning Pokemon Go, I think that does bring up a lot of concerns. And not just from a political standpoint, but mainly from a gameplay standpoint, because there are a lot of things that Pokemon Go does that I actually really enjoy, and it involves things that I'm not sure are going to be in the cards now that Scopely Inc. are the ones running Pokemon Go. For example, Pokemon Go Fest, Pokemon Go Tour, the new Wild Area event, City Safari events. A lot of this stuff is actually what I personally feel is really great about Pokemon Go. The fact that they offer a lot of different events, a lot of different ways for you to have real life experiences with this game. I'm really not sure what the future of those things are going to be with Scopely Inc. For one, maybe they will continue them on. Maybe they have something going on with various parts of the world where for the next several years, we're going to have live in-person events at these places. Maybe they're going to keep that going. I know that they are profitable. I know that when it comes to Pokemon Go Fest, it's a huge moneymaker for Niantic. And I think because of that, Scopely Inc. will probably keep them going. I really do not know how they're going to be run and how they're going to be managed, but I really do hope they continue on. When it comes to gameplay, there's obviously going to be a lot of changes. Scopely Inc. is infamous for monetization. They're infamous for egregious, addictive practices, I have a friend who's been playing Marvel Strike Force for the past 7 years, I will say. He's a pretty well-off guy, so for him, monetization is not a big deal. But he will say that the game is very much different from how it was before. There's a lot of things with the game that is definitely egregious. There's definitely a lot of things that are very predatory. We can expect that for Pokemon Go. I can almost guarantee you that for a lot of the things that we've been complaining about regarding monetization, it's going to get a lot worse. I can almost guarantee it. There could be a way that Scopely Inc. is going to ruin Pokemon Go with monetization. Like, I foresee them doing things that is going to completely rub the Pokemon Go community the wrong way. There is a chance that for community days, for example, it's going to be something you will now have to pay for if you want the increased shiny rate, if you want the bonuses. They might charge you for it now. It used to be free. It used to be something that we just naturally enjoyed, maybe took advantage of. But I can very much see Scopely Inc. monetizing it now. Who knows what they could do? I think Pokemon Go, for all of its flaws, it was actually pretty decent when it came to monetization. Yeah, Niantic was going a little bit further and further into the greed aspect, but if you think about Pokemon Go as it always was, it was really good for free-to-play players. You never had to spend money to get the best of the best Pokemon. You could use your daily free raid passes, and it was really just about luck. It was just really about RNG. And in many ways, the RNG can be very unforgiving, but you could be incredibly lucky as a person and get yourself 100% IVs of some of the most powerful Pokemon and just completely dominate PvP and raid battles without ever having to have spent any money in this game. That was definitely always a possibility, but now I feel like that's no longer going to be the case. With Scopely, I could definitely see them adding monetization to all the different areas of Pokemon Go where it's not needed, and it's just going to be very unfortunate for the average Pokemon Go player. So that's one of the things that I'm very concerned about regarding this purchase. One other thing that I'm really concerned about is regarding the amount of power that the Pokemon Company and Nintendo will have, because this is something that not a lot of players know about, but Scopely Inc. is also a major investor in Nintendo. That means there's going to be a lot less veto power. I think a lot of people do not realize this, and that when it comes to Niantic Labs, when they were the sole developers of Pokemon Go, Pokemon Company and Nintendo, they had a lot of quality control. They had a lot of say in what Niantic could do. But now that Scopely Inc. is running Pokemon Go, maybe they'll have a lot more free reign than Niantic Labs will have. And in some cases, maybe that could be a good thing, right? There's a lot of things that Niantic wanted to do that players asked them for that they just simply could not do because of Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. That's something that I've heard internally. But with Scopely Inc., maybe they're just going to have more free control over Pokemon Go. It's definitely a possibility. Yeah, I think that's definitely concerning, and it's definitely something we will have to keep our eyes on, because if Scopely Inc. goes hog wild with Pokemon Go, if they just start adding a whole bunch of changes that are going to be predatory, that a lot of players are not going to agree with, that a lot of players are going to be very unhappy about, it is very possible that the Pokemon Company just simply can't do anything about it. Who knows? I really do think that, for what it's worth, the future of this game is definitely up in the air. I do think there's going to be a lot of players who are just going to outright quit the game at this point, just simply because it's a Saudi Arabia company. Totally understand that. I do think that it is something that we do have to pay attention to. It's not something we should not ignore. But I do think for a lot of the players who are going to continue playing Pokemon Go, they're in for a ride. I do think that, based on everything that I've heard with what Scopely Inc. has done with other games, it is going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be a lot of things that they do that I think a lot of players are going to really enjoy. I think there's going to be gameplay enhancements to Pokemon Go that players are going to be like, hey, this is great. I really like the fact that Scopely Inc. did this, because I've heard that feedback for a lot of the games that they did take over, like Marvel Strike Force. But I think at the same time, there's going to be a lot of things that players will definitely not enjoy, and it's something we just have to be ready for. Yeah, so I'm really curious to see how this is all going to go down. We all knew this was going to happen. The speculation and all the stuff that was going on, like the rumors, I think that was all like pretty well merited. It's not like I got any internal confirmation. I did not talk to anyone at Niantic regarding that stuff, and even if I did, they probably wouldn't say anything. But yeah, I did suspect this was happening, because if you think about Niantic, Niantic is not a game studio. Niantic Games, maybe, but as a company, Niantic was never a game company. This was just a company that developed technology that just so happened to work with the Pokemon IP. And henceforth, they blew up because of Pokemon Go, and then they started exploring other games because maybe there's another property that would actually work with the AR technology and would drive them more revenue. But ultimately, Niantic is not a game studio. They're a great tech company. They create amazing tech around AR technology. I will admit that. But when it comes to developing games, they're very much like they don't know what they're doing. I'll just be simple. I'll just be direct. And that's okay because, I think what John Hinkey is doing right now by selling Niantic games to Scopely and then focusing their attention on AR technology, I think that's the right move. I think that's the right move for Niantic. I think that's the right move for AR technology. So I'm celebrating that. I think John Hinkey is doing the right thing by stepping away from game development because Pokemon Go does need to be in better hands. And I'll be straight up with you. I think a lot of the things that they do, a lot of the things that I've heard from them, they just simply do not get it when it comes to game development. And I can say that because I used to work in the game industry. I used to work in a studio that developed apps, console games, different things like that. Some of the games that you see behind me, those are games that I worked on. And I could tell you it's a different beast from software development and technology development. I think, because of that, I'm a little bit excited for the future of Pokemon Go. I'm a little bit, cautiously optimistic regarding what they could do from a gameplay standpoint. A lot of the things that players have been complaining about are just common sense game design, and yet Niantic refused to develop around those stuff. But I think Scopely Games will. I think Scopely Games will actually implement things that will make Pokemon Go an actual game. So that's something that I am looking forward to. But, I think for Niantic, I'm really hopeful for their future. I think it's kind of like the comparison that I give is like, Niantic is not a they're not a game developer. It's kind of like an airplane developer creating cars. Like, yeah, they can do it. They have the engineering capabilities. They have the knowledge. They can make a game or they can make a car, but they're good at making airplanes. They don't have to be making cars. Like, they shouldn't be. But now, like, an actual car manufacturer is taking over the car division of that airplane development company. It's kind of like the way I think about it. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things to look forward to. Obviously, there's a lot of concerns, and we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. If you're feeling like this is the end of Pokemon Go, it's definitely possible. But from everything that I've seen with previous games that Scopely took over, I think the game is going to be alive and well. I think Pokemon Go is going to be a game that's going to continue onward. And it's going to be something that Scopely Inc. will actually try to care about. It's a big cash cow. They're going to be spending billions of dollars to purchase Niantic games. They're not going to fumble the bag. Like, they have a proven history of actually keeping these games alive. And I do foresee that happening with Pokemon Go. And on top of that, Pokemon as an IP is just so powerful. It's an IP that's continuing to gain momentum over the years. Every generation, there's just new Pokemon fans. The older generation that are willing to spend money, they're going to continue to keep Pokemon Go alive and Pokemon alive. So I think because of that, Pokemon Go is in pretty good hands in terms of whether or not it's going to, continue onward. But in terms of all the little things, in terms of all the monetization, in terms of all the, real life events like Pokemon Go Fest, that's the stuff that's all up in the air. So we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. But yeah, this is just basically my thoughts. I just wanted to keep it unedited and raw. I just wanted to give you my raw reaction to everything that's been dropping right lately. My goodness, it's just exhausting. Like, this is just it's insane. Like, Pokemon Go is a game that I've been playing for, I want to say, like, almost a decade at this point. It's a game that I've been covering on my YouTube channel for the past several years. I've made thousands of videos around this game. And to see it actually move on to a new chapter, it's definitely a weird feeling. But yeah, in terms of my content, I'm going to continue covering Pokemon Go. I'm going to continue making this game until it dies. And I don't foresee it dying for the next several years. But it is going to be different. It is definitely going to be different. I do think that everything that Scopely is going to do to Pokemon Go, it's definitely going to drive a new audience to this game. It's going to create a lot of new things to cover. And yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. And yeah, I'll catch you all later. Jinsula와 함께해